What's up, YouTube? And you're tuned in to a new episode of Exposed. Actually, the season finale of Exposed, and also a Black History special event where my guest today is Paul Johnson, who was born in 1940. He also is the tour guide at the Motown Hall of Music for 35 years. But before we get into that, I just want to thank everybody that's been logging in, checking me out, my guests this whole season, showing your love, and just getting in touch with my city, your city, and everything that goes on in the world. I mean, we just need to be more tuned in. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode because it's going to be very, very interesting. Like I said, today's episode is called A City Once Named Motown. Each of me and my guests will both be doing an essay of one of our black artists here in Detroit that once were either part of Motown or Motown's era. So we're going to be talking about that and black history and what it means to us. But before we get into that, let's jump into some of our updates and get to know Mr. Johnson a little bit better. So how are you doing today, Mr. Johnson?
Oh, I'm doing all right, young lady. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. And I want to thank you for giving us a chance and all of our viewers a chance to, experience that feeling that Motown had back then when they made all those great artists come alive here.
Ain't no skin off of my back.
Yeah, that's what's up. And I appreciate you taking your time out. So I have a few questions for you before I jump into my updates today.
Right.
And one of them is, name 4 artists back then you would hang out with, and what places would you visit?
Well, four guys that I did used to run the streets with, it was Jimmy, you know what I'm saying, I believe his last name was Hendrix.
Okay.
I love my main man, Sam Cooke. Marvin Gaye, of course.
Always was. I love him. He
always
was a goodie.
And last but not least is the boy Berry Gordy. Give it up, everybody.
Okay.
And I know that most places that we used to, hang out and gamble and shoot pool, we used to go to the Blind Pig, the Detroit Boat Club, and of
That's
course.
before my time, but definitely. I always tell people when I listen to music from back then, it always makes me want to be there. I just want to know what you guys did. I'm always interested.
It was really happening back then. It was just happening. And the last but not least is the Rooster Tail.
Okay, now I've heard of the Rooster Tail before. I have heard of that. So, what artists were you most like back then, and what traits did you have of theirs?
Well, me and Sam Cooke was almost, the same person because he and I both worked hard and, we got ourselves, our foots in the door, I should say.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And I always enjoyed his music as well. So, name some of the happening spots in Motown's era. I mean, because I always, like you said, you named some of them that you would hang out frequently, but what was like the happening spots everybody wanted to go and?
Well, most young men and stuff back then, we all used to shuck and jive at places like the Detroit Playboy Club,
Okay.
Also, Joe Louis Arena was a good, hangout spot to just, go down there with you and your group and stuff, and then just, sing whatever you wanted to do, Skittle Scattle. And last place everybody knows of Hitsville. That was a happening spot.
Yeah, that was a happening spot. I've heard of that. But like I said, I just always wanted to know, because it sounds so fun. Like, our era doesn't know anything about good, genuine fun and good, real music, It's just all out of whack now, but it's always be good to be in touch with all different kinds of music.
Yeah, to get their heads on straight.
Yeah, so last but not least, my question for you is, what label would you say every artist was, trying to join in Detroit?
Well,
and why?
I think that one of the most, famous labels that are still out now is the Warner, I believe it was the WB, Warner Brothers, but the only reason was because of that mean green, you know. If like it wasn't for the money, it wouldn't have been as many artists who was trying to join up with them.
Yeah, that's so true, because, I mean, I've heard stories about Warner Brothers back then, even though we know Motown always represented and kept Detroit the top city for the best artists, and we will continue to be that city regardless. So let's move on to this week's updates before we get on ahead with this Black History Month event here at Exposed, where the truth is revealed. So some of this week's updates I want to talk about. We got DOT upping the rate for the bus rides here in Detroit. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, is it going to be the same rate as Smarts? You know, because everybody knows Smarts is $2 to get on a bus. And it's just another plot to get citizens money here in Detroit. And it's like we work so hard to try and provide for our families and to have something so simple as your bus fare going up. I mean, come on now, in a time when people can't barely afford to get transportation anywhere. So I just wanted to speak on that as well. It's that information you can always go on to Fox 2 News or any of your local favorite channel news stations and just go to their website, check it out. But you can go to fox2news.com and check that out. Also, I want to talk about the young children dying under the age of 14 here in Detroit. I mean, to simple deaths, to deaths in school, to drive-bys, it's just been horrible. And, you know, for being here in Detroit, it's so sad to hear that, you know, that it's happening. And I'm afraid of a world that would allow young children to die from gunfire. Or I pray for parents that that have that loss of a child to a world of anger. You know, it's just, I pray for that world, and I pray for it to, you know, change every day, you know. And information about these young children dying just in the last week, you can also go on to fox2.com, fox2news.com, or any of your local, you know, channels to find out about that. But I want to also touch on another update. Everybody's been hearing, because it's been a highly publicized situation that happened here as well. Let's say murder of Jane Bashara. She's a businesswoman here in Michigan, living in East Point. The media has shined the spotlight on her disappearance up until her death, which they found Jane in the backseat of her car. She was deceased. They're connecting her murder to her husband, Bob Bashara. Now, whatever may speak the situation with that, I'm pretty sure the world knows their situation, but I'm just going to touch on it a little bit. My main interest in the case is, how is it a poor or not a businessman or woman, they get no press conferences, breaking news, or even 2 days of news coverage. The media, the world will close the case, you know, even for people like Kalisha Madden, Bianca Jones, Sharice Gordon, left missing in Detroit, leaving their families with no hope, no faith that they'll return safely, or even, you know, the case will be solved. So like I said, I think it is horrible that this is going on here in Detroit, and it's something that we all as Detroiters and citizens need to sit back and think about that, you know, because her case has been publicized for days now. I mean, they're showing the husband, who's a murderer, clearly has paid someone else to murder his wife. So he shouldn't even deserve to be talked about more than 2 minutes, and that's what I'm giving him. And I'm going to move on to the next thing that's been going on. Detroit, what's up with all the drug busts that's been going on? I mean, we have so many different drug busts going on here in Detroit, and I'm going to start off with some of the ones that I do know about, which was, it was a Thanksgiving dinner too salty. I mean, they had a drug bust, a major drug bust. This was in a warehouse, uncovered major pot-growing operation inside of Detroit warehouse on Lorraine Saturday, where nearly $750,000 worth of marijuana seized and 4 people were arrested. You know, this is just in one area, but I am going to give you guys the top bust of the week with that situation. But moving on, they also had a police bust in Detroit, also a prostitution ring, you know, where an alleged prostitution ring was busted inside a house in the middle of the West Side Detroit neighborhood. Investigators say the house was designed to look like a strip club in the inside. So all this was going on. Nobody knew about this in the hood. So this is what's happening here in the D. But let's move on to another one we had. A cop stalker. Well, this is in New York City. But a cop stalker plows into NYPD officer. And, you know, plainclothes cop, he mowed him down by an obsessed man who could have been shaking the officer's partner since a drug bust more than 2 years ago. So this all, he ran the man over all over a drug bust. And these drug busts are big drug busts. But let's get to the top drug bust we got.
Ridiculous.
Yes, I mean, right here in the city, going on right on here in the city. We got the top drug bust was a major drug bust. Over $10 million seized. We have here in Detroit. I mean, Detroit police and Wayne County sheriffs raided a warehouse on Shane Street near Eastern Market, packed with 3 floors of weed with the street value of nearly $10 million. Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon called it the second largest operation come across in nearly 40 years of police work.
These youngins.
Yeah, and they really doing it big here. They really doing it big. I mean, I can't even imagine that kind of money, you know, flowing through. Sometimes I wish I was there just to, you know, feel and see the cash go through. But, I mean, the way they make it, it's just, it's difficult to talk about.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so what I saw in there, this is what they're still saying. What I saw in there is not an elementary. That's for sure, said Detroit Mayor Dave Bing. He's speaking out about this, saying that this is really sophisticated. Police say they made 5 arrests stemming from the raid. None of those arrests were citizens of Detroit. So like I said, this was the biggest one, but it's just been raids all over Detroit. And, you know, you could always find out more about this if you may want to know about some of Detroit's news and some of these things that have been going on here. You can go on to fox2.com, fox2news.com, and it can tell you about all of the things that's been going on. But before I move on from this update, let's hear from some of the people who logged on to Fox 2 News just to talk about these drug busts. I mean, we have Wesley Soares, and he's from Ridden High School. He said, that's weird. There were 15 million before the cops showed up. And I've heard a lot of situations like that where the cops come in and it was 20 million and left out and never get found. You never get your money back in these situations. And I feel sorry for some of these drug dealers because this is a risky business. You might come in with 10 million and you might leave with 0, but this is the life that you walk into. You also have a Kelly Burns who said, this is such a sad story. Rest in peace, weed. I mean, I know a lot of buzz smokers, a few people who's going to be pissed about this story, like I said, and enjoying that high as it hits their nose.
I miss my reefer.
Yeah, but I know now that you're sitting back and you're chilling and relaxing, Mr. Johnson, you really...
Oh, I still hear a little bit.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with a joint here and there.
Joint.
Okay, so, and one more comment. Let's go to Rhonda Renier Washington, who's in Detroit, Michigan, represent. And Jornita, though, what you say is true. You made me laugh. There was a raid in the early 90s that was alleged to be the biggest weed bust in Detroit. Yeah, I hear of no major cocaine bust, which are ghostwriting our neighborhoods and youth and family. Who cares about the weed? Right. And it's so neat. I mean, after all of, like I just showed you, you go to Fox 2 and find out about all the big drug busts, cocaine busts. The biggest bust, if you see in them all, was the $10 million weed bust. It was not the $10 million cocaine bust that came and killed your family, because cocaine is a hell of a drug. Those drugs, I mean, weed might make you get munchies, and you might go in the kitchen and, you know, kill the kitchen up, but you ain't gonna never rob nobody off of it. I've never heard cases of that. So let's start keeping it real, Detroit, and start realizing what is it that really is killing us here in Detroit faster than we think. So let's move on to some more updates for this week, because I have it all for you here. Good news for Detroit now. From the man who brought our Pistons home, the Palace, Dan Giller has highly invested in downtown Detroit, the Woodward area, building homes, making business for Detroiters, bringing people home, bring people back here to stay. And I think that's so positive, because, you know, somebody actually mentioned to me last week, like, he's building a monopoly down there. He's getting it in. So it's very important to see, you know, somebody really reaching out and touching and helping their city
Support
the
this
best way
blessing,
they can.
man.
So, you know, we haven't seen a lot of that going on in years. So it's good to see somebody really sticking it out with us here. And also moving on, so I hope everybody was happy with their bets for the Super Bowl. What about you? Did you bet, Mr. Johnson?
Oh yeah, I always bet with New York.
Yeah, you know, and I don't even watch football, which might be funny to some people, but I do not watch football, only if the Lions are playing. And since everybody knows Detroit hasn't been having a good time in our sports lately, it hasn't been a lot of watching of that. But I really do think, like, every year, you know, like last year, I actually went with the Green Bay Packers. This year I went with the Giants, and I've been having good luck. So I think next year I'm going to start betting.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, trying to get my bread up with
Good
that.
investment.
So that's this week's updates, and I hope everybody was tuned in. And like I said, most of the information I hit you with today, you can get that from fox2.com. But before I get into my questions, I want to do an essay for my Black History Month representation. I did an essay on my favorite artist from here in Detroit, who is from here. She still currently is here. And her name is Aretha Franklin.
My nigga.
Yes, that's what's up. So I'm going to try to skim through her essay for you guys and give you the best description of her to my ability. And Aretha Louise Franklin was born March 25th, 1942, and is an American singer, songwriter, and pianist. Although known for her soul recordings and referred to as the Queen of Soul, Franklin is also adept to jazz, blues, R&B, gospel music, and rock. Rolling Stone magazine ranked her atop its 100 greatest singers of all time list, as well as the Myth greatest artist of all time. She was won 18 competitive Grammys and 2 honorary Grammys. And she has 20 #1 singles on the Billboard R&B singles chart and 2 #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. Respect in 1967, and I Knew You Were Waiting for Me in 1987, a debut with George Michael. Since 1961, she has scored a total of 45 top 40 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. Between 1967 and 1982, she had 10 #1 R&B albums, more than any other female artist in 1987. Franklin became the first female artists to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So that's just the introduction. But we're going to touch more into Aretha Franklin's life, and I want you to know that she is one of Detroit's favorite artists here because she has been here and represented. Because you see so many artists that come here and they get big and you never see them again. Not only do you never see them again, they never come back and do for that city that gave them that love in the beginning. I think that, you know, that sets you up for failure in your career later. So let's move on and talk more about Aretha Franklin's life.
Miss Franklin.
Now, this is the early life and career of Aretha Franklin. This was between 1942 and 1959. Aretha Louise Franklin, named for two aunts, was born in a two-room house in Memphis, Tennessee, at 406 Lucy Street. She was the third of four children born to Barbara Nee Singers and C.I. Franklin, and the fifth of six overall into between past relationships by her parents. Aretha's family moved to Buffalo when she was 2 years old, and then by 4 they had settled in Detroit. Motor City. And Detroit, following the move in Detroit, Franklin's parents, who had troubled marriage, split. Due to her father's work as a Baptist minister, Franklin was primarily raised by her grandmother, Rachel. Her mother died in Buffalo when Aretha was 10. Franklin sang in church at early age and learned how to play piano by ear. By her late preteens, Franklin was regularly singing soul numbers in her father's new Bethel Baptist Church. C.I. Clarence Verily Franklin, Aretha's father, was a respected local preacher. She grew up with local and national celebrities hanging out at her father's home. So she knew and was cool with a lot of the Motown people and artists that we look up into and listen to these days, including gospel greats, Aretha Walker and her group, the Caravans, Mahalia Jackson. Now, I've heard of her, and many people love her as a great gospel singer. Sierra Ward, 3 women who played a promotional role in her vocal development as a child. Now, her early success, this was in 1960, between 1960 and 1966. She released her first single for Columbia in September 1960. Aged 18, it reached number 10 on Billboard's R&B chart. That was her first big hit.
Wow.
Her first album was released in January 1961. The label had her record mainly jazz-influenced pop music, hoping for success with the format, as the label had Billie Holiday. If you all remember Billie Holiday, she was a great singer as well. A lot of artists probably looked up to her back in the day because she was great at what she did.
Yeah.
Billie Holiday did not really understand Franklin's background in gospel and failed to bring the aspect out in her. Specular recordings after scoring 2 more top 10 R&B hits with Operation Heartbreak and Won't Be Long in 1961, Franklin scored top 40 pop hit with the rendition of Rockabye Baby with Dixie Melanie. Later released failed to find similar success, although Franklin had near top 10 50 hit with Running Out of Fools in 1963. Now let's skip on past all that and get straight to her stardom, because that's what I want to know. You know, I wanted to know about the struggle, how she was the underdog, and how she got on top. So let's get right to the stardom. And the stardom started in 1967 through 1972. Franklin began recording her first songs for Atlantic in the early 1967. So she got with Atlanta Records by 1967.
67.
Yes, and this is when her stardom began, because initially sent to music Charlotte's legendary Fame Studios, where the music show's rhythm section was the in-house band Franklin Cut. Franklin cut her first song, the blues ballad, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You, and I love that song, always will. One of her classics. Everything she did classic, she must have been with Atlantic Records, huh? So, which finally allowed Franklin to show her gospel side. Tensions between Franklin, then husband, then manager Ted White. Now, I never knew her manager was her husband, too. It must have been hard to mix business with pleasure.
Oh, yeah, always.
Yes, and so, and musician led to Franklin and White hiding their public view in New York. Franklin eventually returned to the studio in New York to record the B-side, the gospel oriented to do right woman, do right man. I Never Loved a Man soared both the pop and R&B charts upon releasing, peaking number 9 at the number 1 spot. So we see that her two main songs that got her there was I Never Loved a Man as much as I used to love that. That was Do Right Woman, Do Right Man, and that was a real good song. I love that song to this day. Woman, and that was a real nice song. So let's go on down to the decline and fallout of Atlantic. And this is where we're going to end today's essay. But just to give you an update of our Black history, people, we need to know about everything. Research, go look it up, find out what you can find out about anybody that you admire, like, or want to know more about. So ending this, the decline and fallout with Atlantic was in 1973. Between 1979, Aretha had another number 1 R&B hit in 1973 with the Caroline Franklin Williams Sonny Sanders composed Angel. However, his parent album, Hey Now, Hey, The Other Side of the Sky, failed. To repeat the success of Franklin's other album by 1964, after 4 years performing in Afro-style clothing, the singer glammed up to her look and styled red hair, releasing Let Me In Your Life. The album Yield, the smash single, Until You Come Back to Me. That's what I'm gonna do. Now, you know she always can come out with them hits. But see, what they're saying now, she got to that song and stuff wasn't the same no more. She had to live a different life. It wasn't being herself no more. It had to be more glammed up. And it had to be more serious during this time in this era. And it said, while several singles would later find success on the R&B charts, Franklin was losing favor with pop artists, as soul music was starting to be overtaken by the emerging disco generation. Okay. Atlantic Records had also, by this point, given priority attention to Roberta Flack, if you guys remember her, which is a different brand and style of music, different from Aretha. Yeah, and so leading to the relations between Franklin and the company becoming strained. As a result, Franklin turned down a number of tracks given to her by Marvin Yancey, Chuck Jackson, through eventually they would contribute to her fail in 1965. Several of her songs, including This Will Be Everlasting Love. So that was her song. So other people redid that song, but that was the song. So y'all wasn't pushing her career anymore because someone else was more relevant back then. Now, who are we to judge because we're just poor people, but I think that's kind of mean. Now, so we're later recorded by Natalie Cole. Yeah, and Natalie Cole ended up getting the rights to that song and redoing that song later. The arrivals of Natalie Cole, Shaka Khan, Donna Summers, Franklin Starr ebbed. So basically, when these stars came out, Franklin, it didn't go any further. But basically, we know that Detroit's favorite and most long time, one of the best singers alive is Aretha Franklin. Always will be loved. She's one of my favorite. And I actually did my essay and pulled up all my information straight from the Webb's encyclopedia, because we have encyclopedias from the books, but it's called the Wikipedia. You can always go and pull up any information on any star, any information that I'm talking about that you don't believe, that you want to know, and pull this up. So this is the story of Aretha Franklin, and I'm going to move on to Paul Johnson's essay,
Yes.
favorite Black History Month artist from Detroit.
Yes, for this month's Black History Month, y'all, I did my main man, Smokey Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Smokey Robinson was down with the group was the Matadors, which changed from the Matadors to the Miracles.
Okay.
You know, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Well, anyway, Smokey was born in February 19th, 1940, right here in the D. And he went to Northern High School. I know everybody knows Northern High School.
Yeah, my brother went to Northern.
Oh,
so
yeah.
show that love, Northern. Share that
Y'all
shit.
young folks got to throw it up all the time.
We got to.
Well, Smokey was the founder of his first group called the Miracles. He is the founder of Motown, and he is most known for his song, The Love Machine, and you know, My Girl, My Girl, My Girl. And, you know, and everybody knows My Girl, talking about my girl.
Talking about my girl.
My girl.
So, you know, it's serious out here.
Well, his first group called the Miracles scored their first hit with the song Shop Around. You better shop around.
Yeah, I remember that song, and it was a hit back then.
Oh, yeah. Well, in 1972, he went solo.
Okay.
He finally went solo. In I believe it was the 1980s, Smokey had battled a bad addiction to cocaine, of course, and other personal problems.
In effect, I don't think nobody
That was
knows.
Drug of choice in that whole, decade, so everybody was trying something.
Okay.
Well, in 1987, he won his very first Grammy for the best R&B vocal performance for the song Just to See Her.
Yeah, just to see her.
And that was in
And you know,
87.
when I say vocal, man, he was... What happened to those lyrics? Artists, I love what you see.
We don't sing like that anymore.
It doesn't.
We all don't do that.
It don't even come out like that no more. I mean, the vocal, you don't even care if he can
No,
get a
I
note.
don't do
They
that.
just put the CD out.
Well, in like 04, he had came out with a whole collection of, I would call it spiritual music.
I would love to have his collection.
Oh yeah, it's a good one. You all have to hear it. It's classic Smokey.
And this is one of the friends you would hang out back then with.
Oh yeah, Smokey was my main man. He was always up there, Hitsville and stuff, doing something.
Okay.
His group called the Miracles was led by him and was responsible for the famous now Motown sound.
Okay.
You gotta have a sound here.
You gotta have a sound. We don't want to hear that. What is that they're using now? You know, my favorite thing. I tell everybody, auto-tuning.
Yeah. Y'all young folks, y'all kill me.
I know you might not know Mr. Johnson because this is a new time in music, but this music now, auto-tuning, I never liked it. It only sounds good when you're adding it to your voice. Meaning, like, when you used to see people, I wanna be your girl. Yeah, that sounds sweet. Even T-Pain, he's not a singer. It sounds good. But when you're a singer, we need to hear real vocal cords, all that other stuff, killing, all that robbery, drugs. If you can't make it sound good, just leave it out.
Pretty much. And that's the end of my essay. I'm going to end it right there.
Okay, and that's what's up. So you gave us a little information about Smokey. Is there anything else you want us to know about him?
No, that was about it.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Sexy Dollar.
Okay, that's what's up, Mr. Johnson. I want to thank you for coming in and, doing your best to satisfy us here in Detroit and show your love, as well as participating in my Black History Special Essays. And we're going to move on to the topic of today, which is a city once named Motown.
Yeah, that's a classic name.
Yeah,
Motown.
and we all miss Motown music and Motown artists, so it's best to end the season off right, talking about my city and music, two of the most important things in my life right now. So it is important that you viewers keep watching. So I'm going to get you on my first question of the night, which is, who were the top paid artists on Motown's label?
Well, anybody knows that the top paid one was Smokey, and you got to put Diana Ross and the Supremes in there. They were so famous.
That is so true. That is so true. Okay, so I mean, we all knew that Diana Ross was famous for her music and the things that she did back then. She was a big part of Detroit's come up through Motown. So, name 4 artists who actually lived in Detroit that were with Motown Records.
Oh yeah, four of them. Well, you know, the first that I really want to talk about is not really just one, but it's 4, and everybody knows the 4 tops.
Okay.
You know, Marvin Gaye stayed here.
Yeah.
Stevie
The
Wonder.
4 tops also have family here. They're still here, you know, and they're still doing their thing.
Yeah, I know like a young guy and stuff.
Okay.
And he's one of their nephews. And Stevie Wonder was also one who stayed
Great
here.
artist, yes.
And last but certainly not least is my main man Smokey.
Okay,
Smokey Robinson.
That's actually the person you did your essay on.
Oh yeah, Smokey.
Crazy. Okay, so name one song that put Motown and that artist on the map, musically speaking.
Well, one song that did put Motown on the map was ABC 1, 2, 3 with the Jackson 5.
Oh, of course, and we all love that era and that music. Yeah. It was always a favorite for me. Okay, so name a Detroit spot artists perform live shows at frequently.
Oh yeah, I know that one of the most trending spots, or the most, as you kids would say, hype, we used to just say trending, was called The Bohemian. It was a real nice, swanky, upscale, you know what I'm saying, restaurant that you young folk don't know nothing about.
Okay, I know that's right, because I darn sure don't know, Mr. Johnson.
It's all right.
Yeah, I try to catch up slowly but surely with you guys' help and expose it and keep me informed. So, my next question is to you. Name 2 R&B groups and or bands signed with Motown.
Oh, 2 groups and bands that signed with Motown. Oh, that's easy, young lady. You know, I'm going to go old school and new school. I'm going to say the 4 tops, and everybody knows Boys to Men.
Of course,
they were signed with Motown.
And there was a time that Boys to Men would often frequent a lot, but we haven't seen or heard from anything about them coming here in the last decade, but we do know of them. So, what is the difference between music now and then?
Well, I think that music now isn't as much about love or, you know, as far as the feelings as it used to be. They don't have enough songs out like that. You young people, it's just all about bang, 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 bang.
Sex. And you kind of, it's fun for after so long, you know, who doesn't like to talk about sex and money, but it gets kind of boring. It's bigger issues going on here, and if you're afraid to talk about these things, I mean, we need to talk about this. We need to put this on the table. I need to know as an artist, should I come to your label with my lyrics, these realist lyrics, you know, because my music is real and it comes from the heart. Exactly, Mr. Johnson. So can you make money the same or even sign easily if no why?
Well, I would say no, you can't make the same amount of money, you know what I mean? But you can get signed, but it has to be depending on who you know. And I don't think that you can make the amount of money that we made back then for our time because, you know, I don't think we had the stuff called bootlegging.
No, we never had bootlegging, and that's where a lot of the artist money is going besides having the right people pushing the right music is part of the reason why artists are not getting attention. I mean, I don't know if people are starting to notice that, but it's not even that. It's just that you can have a good song or good lyrics, but if it's not pushed by the right people, it won't get seen. So, moving on. Now, facts show that record sales are down since Motown's era. Why do you believe that is, and who can artists blame? The label, manager, promotion, or all of the above?
Well, I mean, you can't actually blame all of the above, but I would say the main blame has to be placed on technology, because without the technology to, you know what I'm saying, copy stuff, albums and, you know what I'm saying, stuff like the CDs would still be being sold in stores by the millions.
Yes, and like I said, you have to, as an artist, because I'm starting to find this out myself, you have to want it more than they want it. I mean, they see us, they might want to, you know, like us, but we have to put that work in. It might take a lot of sacrificing and actually going out there pushing that record and putting it in their face, you know, getting those investors and talking to the right people and keeping away those people who just don't see potential in you or what you're doing is always a good move. It'll put you in the right place with the right people because you're blocking those haters. And my last question of tonight, and I've enjoyed sitting here with you guys for the season finale and just enjoying Black History Month and representing hard for Detroit. It feels real good.
I don't do it for shits and giggles.
Oh, no, that's right. So my last question of the night for you, Mr. Johnson, is Detroit even going to replace Motown musically? Will artists ever have a chance in the industry? Do you ever see this changing? If no, why?
Well, I believe that ever since those jive turkeys left here, you know what I'm saying, as far as Motown, we've been really searching for a person to bring us up, you know, back to the prominence that we are. So I believe yes, because investors are starting to take a little bit of notice of the talent that we actually do have here, you know, as far as the young folks who can sing and what's this new thing, rap or something or another.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
rap has been taking over for a long time, Mr. Johnson. I know this is...
I've been working in the hall.
Rap was not even around, you guys, when Mr. Johnson was born in 1940. So we have to keep that in mind. And Mr. Johnson also has been working with Motown's best artists for years and decades. So he knows what the deal is here in Detroit when it comes to our music. Before we end tonight's special, very special episode and my season finale that I hope you guys loved and enjoyed and took very seriously, and that you go and you do your research and get ready for me to come back to you next season with the hottest music. I'm going to be dropping that all while my seasons and you catching up and you watching 1 through 10. You know, I'm going to come back with you with a new season asking questions, wanting to know what your view is. So I hope you tune in. I hope you keep watching. I hope you do as soon as possible catch in and tune in to me and my episodes and all my artists and my guests that come in here to expose. Now, for this week's Fact Finder, because now going into our new season, we're always going to be doing a fact finder of the episode, Mr. Johnson, so that you all can find out things you may never knew, some things you may want to find out, and you don't know how to do this. This fact finder is something that you will get every episode where you can go and find this info for yourself, a fact about something or someone that you can always go and look up for yourself. And this week's fact finder is the top 5 selling artists signed to Motown. Now I'm going to start from number 5 and work my way on up. And number 5 is Stevie Wonder. Number 4 is Smokey Robinson.
Smokey.
Number 3 was Marvin Gaye.
Mercy, mercy me.
Yes, and number 2 was the Supremes.
Okay.
Number 1, our number 1 top selling artist signed to Motown was The Temptations.
Oh, yeah.
We should have knew that because we all love them to this day. Now, this website where you can go on and find out about this week's fact finder is at www.listal.com /list/motown dash artist. So if you want to know more about anything we talked about, do your research. You know, everybody that's watching my web series, I don't expect for you to, you know, because there's not a lot of inquisitive people in the world that want to know about their cities, that want to know about the world, want to go and do research about anything that's going on in their life. You know, Black History Month is very important for us Black people, so it's good to represent and show everybody that you are intelligent enough to know your history. But back to what I'm saying is, everybody, I want you to just keep watching, logging on. I also have that, hope you enjoyed that new remix of Common that was also dropped tonight. And I want you to thank my guest, Mr. Paul Johnson.
Oh, I'm sorry, my dentures coming up.
Oh, yeah.
It was nice.
You okay, baby? Where'd you came?
I'm all right, huh?
Okay.
I'm all right, huh? It was nice to be here, though.
We don't want you to have a
Always
heart
been a
attack now.
pleasure. I'm all right. I took my medicine this morning.
Okay, Miss Johnson will be very upset with us. Now, like I said, everybody has very much love and respect coming from me in here. And I want to thank everybody for their support and watching. And keep tuning in. And we out. Peace.